560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
All right, it's coming or it's here. Good morning, Amy Jacobson. John Anthony in for Dan Proft. Good morning, partner. How are you?
I'm doing well.
And I'm saying it's here because we have had our first reported bird flu death in the United States. Is a man who's 65, comorbidities, I heard, who works with livestock and birds in Louisiana. And, of course, all the cast of characters from Central Casting, Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, health expert Leanne Wynn, back saying, have we learned nothing from COVID?
I feel like we should have learned our lesson from COVID that just because we aren't testing, it doesn't mean that the virus isn't there. It just means that we aren't looking for it. We should be having rapid tests, home tests available to all farm workers, to their families, for the clinicians taking care of them so that we aren't waiting for public labs and CDC labs to tell us what's bird flu or not. And the second very important thing is this is not like the beginning of COVID where we were dealing with a new virus, we didn't have a vaccine. There actually is a vaccine developed already against H5N1. The Biden administration has contracted with manufacturers to make almost 5 million doses of the vaccine. However, they have not asked the FDA to authorize the vaccine. There's research done on it. They could get this authorized now and also get the vaccine out and to farm workers and to vulnerable people.
And what is their biggest fear? That when Trump comes in with RFK Jr., that they're not going to have any vaccines because that Trump administration does not like vaccines.
We don't know what the Trump administration is going to be doing around bird flu. If they have people coming in with anti-vaccine stances, could they hold up vaccine authorization? If they don't want to know how much bird flu is out there, could they withhold testing? I mean, that's a possibility. And I think the Biden administration in the remaining days should get testing and vaccines widely available so that at least it empowers state and local health officials and clinicians to do the right thing for their patients.
But the big question is, I mean, what is the bird flu fatality rate? That was the main question that I was interested in, and she answered it.
Well, the World Health Organization estimates that in prior outbreaks of the bird flu, that the mortality rate is 52%.
What?
52%. What? However, in this most recent outbreak, it seems that most cases have been mild, and maybe some people even have asymptomatic infection. But the question is, we don't know what happens when bird flu affects more vulnerable individuals. People infected so far in the U.S. have been mainly farm workers who are working, presumably generally healthy, as opposed to what happens when you get to children, to pregnant women, to older individuals with chronic illnesses. We don't know how deadly, how dangerous bird flu is going to be for those individuals. And again, that's one more reason why we don't want it to spread and acquire more mutations.
And I'd play Dr. Fauci for you, but I really don't want to hear from him. But Dr. Birx, like, we have to have mass testing. Mass testing starts right now. It should be at least.
But it sounds like it doesn't. It sounds like from what you're laying out, you don't think this country has learned from the COVID pandemic.
Our
and
agencies,
there's not a sense of urgency right now.
Our
that
agencies are making the same mistakes they made with COVID. The number 2 principle of pandemic is detect. And the only way to detect for viruses is to test. You cannot see a virus through symptoms. You miss so many cases. Yet we're still talking about flu-like illness.
With more on this, let's welcome back to the program our good friend, Dr. Richard Bartlett, practiced medicine in Texas for over 28 years and served on former Governor Perry's healthcare task force. Good morning, Dr. Bartlett. How are you?
Good morning, Amy. Good morning.
Hey,
John
good morning.
Yeah, so
it's good to be on The Answer, and I got a question for you since you're the morning answer. How much flu would a flu shot stop if a flu shot stops some flu?
0.
Fatality rate 52%. Really? Is that a
No.
little hyperbole? I mean, what is she talking about?
So let's talk about the messenger. We heard her message. Lena Wynn used to be the medical director for Planned Parenthood. because she was saying facts that were not true, according to the Planned Parenthood, they fired her. She was so inflammatory, so so extreme in her messaging, and so sensational that she had to be fired as medical director of Planned Parenthood. Check it out.
Wow.
People can check it out.
Yeah, no, that's true. Right.
And so my point is, her messaging was so extreme and so untrue that Planned Parenthood had to fire her.
Wow.
So what is she saying? She's saying that we need to do mass testing. They're talking about a PCR test. That's the type of testing we did with COVID. Mm-hmm. We found that it had a tremendous amount of false positive testing. When we talk about tests, we talk about sensitivity and specificity. Will it have false positives or false negatives? And with the type of testing that we did with COVID that we've never used for diagnostic testing before, called PCR testing, it was extremely inaccurate. You remember how many times they said, well, half of the tests were asymptomatic positive tests? No, the people didn't have the disease, is the bottom line, and that later was admitted 3 years later. And so they're using that same type of testing for bird flu. And that's actually been already created, stockpiled, and it's starting to be used. But what is bird flu? Bird flu
let's talk about that, because we've had, according to them, to the U.S. records and NBC News, 67 cases have been recorded in the U.S., and one person has died, a 65-year-old.
Right. So I spoke to the Louisiana Homeland Security Committee as an expert witness in the end of September, and I warned them about a bird flu crisis that was going to be promoted, and that there was an early treatment strategy, that there would be a sales pitch for vaccine-only agenda, that we can expect that they would even push PCR testing to cause a lot of hype and fear in the masses and drive the people with fear, and that we don't need to do that again. We already did it one time. In 2009, there was a flu pandemic with a new, novel, highly contagious, dangerous virus called H1N1. We didn't vaccinate one person. It was over in 9 months. And so what we did with COVID was the opposite of that. They did a vaccine-only strategy from the beginning, a shot in every arm, and it's drug out forever. And they don't see an end in sight. And they don't want to, I don't believe, because in 2022, Pfizer made $37 billion in just 1 year with COVID shots. And Moderna made $18.2 billion with a B in that 1 year, 2022, with COVID shots. So do you think they have a financial incentive for this to go away? And so the bottom line is follow the money. We know that 90% of the flu cases right now, I work as an ER doctor, 90% of the flu cases right now are influenza A. Bird flu is an influenza A virus. We know how to treat the flu. This is not a new, earthlings are earthlings. Mm-hmm. And so you treat humans the same. We can do supportive care. We have antiviral medicines. There's a new antiviral that's been out for 4 years called Xofluza, Xofluza. I have found it very effective for the flu. We're probably treating bird flu right and left right now that's testing positive for flu A in the ER, and people are getting better. And so this hype is over the top. If you look at Deborah Birx, she admitted that she misled the President of the United States when she was advising him. And she misled the American people in a book that she wrote, that she knew that the vaccines were not going to stop the spread. That was not what she said when she was at the podium. And so we already know who these people are. We know that Fauci has lied over and over, saying wear masks, don't wear masks, wear 2 masks. If you get a shot, you don't need a mask. If you get the shot, you need to wear a mask. I mean, he changed his messaging over and over, and he later admitted in depositions in the Missouri versus Biden lawsuit that in 8 hours of depositions, he could never remember and cite any evidence for the 6-foot social distancing, which was forced on everyone with stickers on the floor, 6 feet apart in every grocery store. I mean, we're
so
done
that was
with
just
it.
some random number?
No, that actually came from a 14-year-old science project in school.
A 14-year-old girl's science project, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And so I'm telling you, it's time for science. It's time for common sense. And I got good news. MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. RFK Jr., if people want to know where he's coming from, he wants Americans to hear the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And it has been kept from the American people. I'm on the board of a nonprofit that had to sue the FDA for the Pfizer shot information. And Pfizer and the FDA told our lawyer, Aaron Siri, yeah, we have that information in the computer, and we got it from Pfizer. We could push print or send, but we don't want the American people to see this for 55 years. And then later they changed their mind to 75 years. And then I was in federal court in Fort Worth with Aaron Siri when the judge says, you got to release this information. And they said, the FDA told the judge, we don't have enough staff at the FDA to release this information to the American people for 75 years. And he said, I'm from Texas. He said, BS. That's my paraphrase. Yeah. And we got that information, and you can see why they were trying to hide it now. The bottom line is a vaccine-only agenda, vaccine or bust, is ridiculous. We've proved that you can't vaccinate out of a pandemic one more time. And there's early treatment saves lives. And so MAHA, if people want to know more about the MAHA movement, Make America Healthy Again, and the hope that we have in America to get things right side up, they need to go to thehighwire.com and watch Aaron Siri present to the New Hampshire legislature about vaccines. And they're going to hear some facts that'll blow their mind. And I'll just give you a teaser.
Yes, please.
The polio vaccine does not stop the spread of polio.
Well, what about measles? Because I have a friend who, she's in her 60s now, and she had the measles shot when she was a kid. She still got the measles.
Right. And so he breaks it down for all the childhood vaccines to the legislature in New Hampshire. And so every parent who's been manipulated by pediatricians or by government leaders that say, you better get that polio shot in your kid or you're going to cause a polio disaster in America and wipe people out, is lying. The inactivated polio vaccine does not stop the transmission, and the CDC admitted when pressed with FOIA requests that the standard for vaccines is not to stop the spread of disease, but to decrease severity of illness. What?
Yeah.
That's a major shift. We weren't told that as doctors 30 years ago. It used to be about preventing disease. There's been a lot of changes, and we're going to see with MAHA. And so people need to look up Aaron Siri, S-I-R-I, and they need to watch that video. And I dare people to prove him wrong. We have hope. Things are going to get – number one, I told RFK and his team the American people can handle the truth. Yeah. And so it's time to no longer censor and suppress and hide early effective treatments, to hide the truth about vaccines, the good, the bad, the ugly, and to tell the truth about this modified RNA technology and gain-of-function research, which makes bioweapons.
Yeah, I'm sorry for my laughter, Amy. I was watching the license plates that were rejected for the state of Illinois. I'm sorry. But Dr. Bartlett, I have a statement and a question. I kept hearing, I don't know if that was Burks or whoever that was, that kept saying, we haven't learned.
Dr. Wynn.
From COVID. We have
formerly
learned.
Of Planned Parenthood who got fired.
But we have learned. We've learned not to trust the so-called experts and their junk science. That's what we've learned this go around, especially with having somebody like RFK Jr. in there. But here's my question. What do I need to stock up on, and how do I get it? Because my doctor won't. I've requested ivermectin. I requested, what is it? Budesonide, and he just won't give it to me.
He won't even give you budesonide?
He won't give me anything.
Okay. I don't know why he doesn't like you.
Yeah,
Don,
I know.
Don Anthony, I like you.
Thank you.
So I'm just saying, absolutely, budesonide nebulizer treatments were a game changer for COVID. It got people off the ventilator in the ICU that were told they were going to die.
Yeah.
So budesonide nebulizer treatments, but I am saying Xofluza, Xofluza. It's been out for 4 years. We know that it's got a good safety profile, and I'll tell you, when I prescribe that to patients in the ER that are really sick, many of them tell me in 2 hours it was like flipping a switch. They felt better after 2 hours.
Yeah,
everybody's different, but Xofluza is a one-pill, one-time treatment for the flu, and it is a game changer. And guess what? Bird flu is the flu.
Yeah.
And so that mouthwash that kills 99% of germs, like Listerine or any generic that kills 99% of germs, will interfere with the viral replication. There's a 3 to 5 day period when you're exposed to the flu before you get symptoms. That 3 to 5 day period, you have exponential multiplication of the virus till you get to a critical mass that causes symptoms.
Yeah.
You can keep killing down the virus with mouthwash if you'll use it twice a day.
Well,
it's so weird because my dentist's office, when COVID hit and we finally got to go back to the dentist, they would sit there with a timer and you'd have to put Listerine or whatever mouthwash for 1 minute. And then they'll put you in the chair.
Well,
and they still have not had one case of COVID.
Right. When you gave me that, the
budesonide,
it sounds like you speaking in tongues.
Budesonide.
Sound like you speaking in tongues. But when you gave that to me, when I got COVID, it lasted a day and a half. The next time I got COVID, I had no symptoms. I just lost my sense of smell and taste. That's it. Wow. And I haven't had it since.
Hey, I'm just saying you can't argue with success. And on the other hand, you're exactly right. There's junk science. There's pseudoscience. Pseudo means fake. Yeah. Pseudoscience. The things that they were pushing on the masses, it's going to change because the CDC and the NIH and the FDA are underneath RFK when he's Secretary of HHS.
Yep.
You're going to see them you're going to see the CDC start serving the people, we the people, instead of corporations that are making $36 billion a year off an agenda. And so we need, and by the way, 40% of the people that are in the hospital right now because they have severe symptoms of the flu are vaccinated with the flu vaccine.
Wow.
Hey,
I know, that's
supposed to prevent severe disease.
But it's right about the money because Moderna stocks jumped on the bird flu vaccine after the first U.S. death.
And you know that death was it was D1.1, I believe, was the genotype or the clade, the specific kind of bird flu. Well, they've been chasing a different one, 2.3.4.4b. You mean some of the vaccines that have already been stockpiled and mass-produced by governments might be for the wrong germ? Yeah, that's possible, meaning they might have missed the mark again, maybe. So I'm just saying, how much flu would a flu shot stop if a flu shot stopped the flu?
I got a question. What is HMPV? I guess this is something that's supposedly happening in China right now. Have you heard of this?
Yes. And so that's another strain of a respiratory virus, metapneumovirus, human metapneumovirus. And so not a new thing. And also they mention mycoplasma pneumonia, walking pneumonia, not a new thing.
No.
And so the bottom line is there is certainly a desire by mainstream media to move the masses with sensational stories, with controversy and things being overblown. The risk of a bird flu coming from a lab is real, and that would be a different animal. Viruses come from nature, bioweapons come from labs.
Yep.
And that's why we need new leadership in the CDC, the FDA. We need to shut down some of the bioweapon creation by gain-of-function research. Gain-of-function is dual purpose. And so we need to protect people. Use common sense. Use early treatment. Don't have a vaccine-only agenda because that failed us during COVID, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, and then they lied about it, too.
But we need to know what we're fighting.
Yes,
so we
Dr. Richard Bartlett, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Where can people follow you on social media or get more information?
So, it's not about me, but I'll tell you, budesonideworks.com, budesonideworks.com, and also johnfleetwood.com without an H, JON Fleetwood.com, all one word. Those are two places for good information, and thehighwire.com. Watch the Aaron Siri interview presentation to the New Hampshire. People will love it, and it's going to blow your mind.
Highwire.com.
Thehighwire.com.
The Highwire. Okay, thehighwire.com. All right, Dr. Richard Bartlett, we're going to have to leave it there for today. Practiced medicine in Texas, ER doctor, and served on former Governor Perry's healthcare task force. Thank you so much, Dr. Bartlett.
Make America healthy again.
Okay.
Take care.
Maha. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
What Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
Wow. Are you buying or are you